Welcome back to Dumb Down Tech. So today I'm actually going to finally get round to building the ITX build that I've been threatening to do for a while. You've seen me do a couple of videos previously. For example, the review on the case that this is going to go into, there'll be a link in the description below for that. And you've also seen me do a video on the graphics card that's going to be going into this. Again, there's going to be videos in the description below for anything I've covered before. So today we're going to finally build it, but I thought first let's have a look at the parts that I'm going to be putting into this, and we'll go through the costings and kind of work out from there. Okay, let's get into this. So as we know, it's going into a Silverstone RVZ03 ITX case, which cost £39, about $49 US, and that was second hand. So I think starting with, let's have a look at our motherboard, which is a Gigabyte B550 Aorus Pro AX ITX board. Great little board, some lovely big chunky heat sinks. We've got space for 2 sticks of RAM, and we've got 4 SATA connections, USB 3.2, USB 2, front I/O. And if we have a look at the rear I/O, we've got a selection of USB ports, a couple of HDMI's, display port, 2.5 gig Wi-Fi, LAN, and Wi-Fi and audio connectors, and of course USB-C. Flipping the board over, we have a lovely shield on the back and space for one M.2 drive. That is not the only drive available on here, as under this chunky heatsink is space for another drive. And then at the heart we have our Ryzen 5 5600G, and the Ryzen cost £115, $144 US new. Forgot to say the actual motherboard, that cost £100, about $120 US, and that was second hand. Nice little bargain, as they thought it was broken, as only one of the M.2 slots was available, but that was just a screw that had been broken off, which I managed to drill out. As for memory, we have Lexar 4, and this is DDR4 3200 RAM. Each stick is 8 gig, so total of 16 gig going into here. Moving around our table, I did say about in the case review video that I wanted to replace the Silverstone Ryzen setup, which is Gen 3, and a little bit convoluted, and try and put in a flexible one. This is a Gen 4, and that cost about £42, 52 US, brand new. And if you've seen any of our previous videos, you'll know this graphics card. It's a Palette Dual GTX 1070 Ti that's recently just been repasted, and a couple of new fans installed. Again, display connections on here, DVI, display port, HDMI. Only thing I don't really like about the card is we've got no backplate, but we'll see how that performs. And then to keep the processor cool, we have a Thermalright AXP 120 X67 low profile cooler, and that cost about £24.90, about $31 US, and that was brand new. It has a slim 120mm fan. We have 6 heat pipes cut out to get over RAM or heatsink, and we'll see how well that performs. That was nice and cheap. Should be okay up to about 150, 160 watts of thermal power, and obviously the 5600G is nowhere near that. To try and get some air into the case, biggest problem with an ITX case, we have 3 fans. So the case actually came with 2 Silverstone low profile 120mm fans, and seeing there was space for another one, for the sake of £8.59 or $10 I just bought an RTX 120 low profile fan to go with it. As for storage, I've got 4 drives going into this. We'll start with the M.2s. So boot drive, we've got a Silicon Power Gen 3 256 gig, and that came in at £24, about $30. A little bit of storage, we've got Western Digital 500 gig. That came in at £34, $42. And then we've got 2 SATA 1TB SSDs, Seno and Crucial. They both came in about £50 each, $63. These 2 actually came out my main rig when I went fully over to M.2, and these 2 drives I actually had laying around from other systems. Then coming across, we have weirdly a remote. Now this is the Silverstone ES02 USB wireless power on device. It just plugs into a standard USB 2 header on the motherboard, and then the cables come out and connect up to all the power from the case and to the motherboard front header, and then you can literally just use the remote to power on, power off, or reset it. So let's see how that works out. Always worth a try when you can get it second hand for £7.50 or about $9. Right, and then we get to our power supply. So we have an AeroCool Integrator Mod XT 750 watt semi-modular, and this is where I may have made a complete and utter balls up. Being an ATX power supply, it's quite large for an ITX system. Now the case does say it will take it, but I am wondering about space, and I may have been better off getting an SFX or smaller power supply just to make my life easier. But I'm a cheapskate, so considering this only cost £35 or about $44 brand new, it's much cheaper than an SFX power supply. And that's the run through of the parts. Obviously there's a number of cables etc to go through, but hey, let's get into the build. there we have it. One ITX gaming system built in 2 days, and a lot of frayed patience and nerves. So you probably noticed in the build video that after the motherboard went in, yes, the cooler assembly did have to come back out. Absolute nightmare, lots of mess, thermal paste everywhere, so it took a little bit to clean up. I'm not going to do any benchmarking or thermal testing today. I think the video is quite long enough at this point. So that will be a future video where I'm going to stress test the system within an inch of its life. The next phase of this is going to be, finding somewhere for it out the way so that it's hidden. It's what I want for the ITX system. And to summarise, I think for a total of £666.99 or around $837, I can't really complain at the system. I will say in the build, I did ask the question, maybe I made a mistake with the ATX power supply. I can say yes, that was a mistake. Absolutely ridiculously tight fit. An SFX power supply would be a lot better. Cable management, there is none. You can literally put the cables in and where they fit is where they stay. I did have a little bit of an issue getting the GPU area in, getting it all lined up, as with that power supply, cables were pushing things out, and there's not a lot of cables coming off that power supply. I've got a single GPU power, 24-pin motherboard, 8-pin motherboard, and then some SATA connections. So there's a lot more cables that could come off that power supply, and to be honest, I do not know how it would fit in that case. Going forward, I would be tempted to rebuild it into maybe a small form factor case, maybe up to kind of mini ATX or micro ATX or something. I like how compact it is, and it weighs a ton. What I don't like is going forward, if I ever want to do anything to it, I think the whole thing's got to be taken apart. To get the motherboard out, power supply would have to come out. And for the power supply to come out, pretty much everything else will have to come out. So bear that in mind if you ever do decide to do an ITX build. Do you want to future-proof yourself by having it available to upgrade? Then maybe ITX is not for you. Hey, it's done, and we'll see how it performs in the next video. Take care.